fun to do some of these things. So you certainly can get creative with these things.
Is that right? Do you feel that? Where do you feel that? Hands, glutes, abs. That's perfect. Roll back. Roll back, roll back, roll back.
And obviously you can do the same things. You can put the band around his knees, the same things you did on the floor.
There's lots of tweaks. There's bands. You can pull them down. You can pull them up. There's all kind of tricks you can do with it. Once again, what you guys will have in your small office, you know, I just think that's a nice simple progression. Keep it simple. Yeah. Yeah. You can get really carried away with like a lot of the toys and body blades, and it's fun, but it's at home. You know, lift up big as sugar. So, do you guys want to try to have more valgus? But if you can't lunge, how are you going to run? How are you going to get up and down the stairs? So a big thing about squatting, think about your single leg squat, think about your squatting when you're looking for an excessive amount of valgus. So if you're lunging and you can't control your valgus, then you start to think back to your glutes and what's controlling that amount of valgus. Because if you can't squat...
I don't know, we may have. It may be on there. I'm not sure.
So, yeah, if you can't control the amount of valgus that you have indefinitely, that...
Hey guys, listen to this, okay?
That may be a reason why you might start to get some knee pain. And I think a lot of it will go back to squatting and single leg squatting and lunging. But also to think about plyometrics, think about someone, how they're going to land. You basically land in a squat position, so if you don't have control of the valgus of your knees, it's inevitable that you're going to have some knee problems.
Especially with female athletes, because it's almost an epidemic of ACL injuries.
Right now.
My daughter had 2 ACL injuries. I think she was 15 and 17 years old and blew each one out.
Very
common.
Young female athletes, I can't tell you how many people young athletes that I've had to teach how to land. They land with straight legs, they land like this, they land like this, and I don't know, maybe it might just be sort of that age where everybody sits on their duffs, you know, and we're on the computer, and we're maybe more sedentary than, you know.
In a different direction with this, you can use it as kind of like a practice management, something to get you out in the community when you actually open up your own practice. Go into your local high school, say, we'll take a look at all your female athletes for free. We will take a look at their lunge, squat, one-legged squat. Basically point out who's more susceptible to ACL injuries because of the valgus part of their knee during the lunge, during the one-legged squat, during the regular squat. Give them some exercises, give their coaches some exercises to do. Now you're somebody in the community that they will refer to when they have somebody with a problem. Okay.
I think Nadia was right on the landing. I think that's one of the most accepted theories of why the female athletes, there's a problem with how they land, and mentioning how they land with a straight leg. And I think of, I ran a girls' basketball league for, I don't know, 10 plus years. First of all, it's hard to get a girl to jump and leave the ground. And I wonder, believe it or not, it is in basketball, like a rebound. They'll go up, but it's very hard to get a girl who, especially if they're not real athletic or haven't even been playing.
Lunging, I'll start with the squat. So the way I teach a squat is basically feet a little bit wider, maybe a little bit wider than your hips.
Wider than that now?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Feet either straight forward or slightly turned out. Once again, it's going to depend on your ankle mechanics. I'm going to get you to basically squat down like you're about to sit in a chair. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to touch your knees to my hands. I want you to push your hips back. Think about sitting back. I want you to try to keep a neutral squat and stick your thing. Okay. You don't know what to do?
She's going to have trouble.
If I ever do that,
you're going to have trouble. You can't do this. Yeah.
Alright, so we're going to work on that. Okay. So now, what I'm going to
Hold on, Nadia. Let's just see that on this, okay? Let's see if you can try that again. Really work on it. That's kind of interesting.
Once again, don't let me hurt you by doing anything. So, try not to touch my hands. And then come on back up. And although I think that was a little bit better, you saw that there was a lot.
Yeah, she was doing, you know, you're conscious of it, you work Definitely was much better than the first time.
Okay. What we're gonna work on now is a hip hinge, and if I can't get you doing it in standing, we're gonna bring you down into kneeling or maybe into quad, because that is the developmental progression of how, once again, how we move.
Did you hear that guy hip hinge? This is really important right here.
This is
hip
important
hinge.
for all of you
All
guys,
of it.
because everything that we do when we work on patients is hinging through your hips. I'm gonna get you to put your hands on your hips. Find bony part of your hips and let your fingers kind of fall almost where your inguinal line is. And where your fingers are there, when you squat, what I want you to do is basically try to inch through that as you push your hips back.
Sorry.
Okay. Same thing. These aren't going to the floor. You're going to push your... That looks better already. Does that feel better to you?
I can't tell.
I can't tell. Try not to touch my hands again. Coming back up. Does that look better to you guys?
It's dramatically better. Just in that little bit, just a little bit of instruction.
If my patient continued to have pain with it, what I would do is I'd get big belts, because we like belts, and I'd put it around the thighs. And now what I'm going to say is, allow me to sit down just a little bit, just a little bit. I want you to press your legs out against my hands.
Okay.
And I want you to do the exact same thing that you just did. Hinge through your hips, come down with your butt to sit. Right. Come back up. Does that feel a little more comfortable to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And once again, it's just the reason that you're turning on your glutes. A little bit more, I think you went a little further. I can see how you look from behind, but it seemed like you had a little more distance with that. And so that's the way I would kind of workshop the squat. Let's say I wasn't able to get that successfully. Your knees okay? Let me get you down onto your knees. So this is going the other way. Say we work and we work and we work and we can't seem to get it. Sometimes people who are very kyphotic, you guys are chiros, I can say this, making sure they get into extension, if they need to do some manipulation, I don't know, whatever you guys do, that might be a good thing. Sometimes I'll get a patient to put their hands on the wall, which will drive their upper body into extension as they start to squat down. Sometimes we'll see that. But let's go the other way. In kneeling, you're going to do the same thing, hands on your hips. And all you're going to do is hands through your hips, pushing your hips back. You're slowly going to lean forward, trying to keep a nice neutral spine, maintaining lordosis, and then you're going to squeeze your cheeks and come right back up. And then this is how you would go from a squat for somebody who cannot do it in standing. Does that feel comfortable to you?
Yeah.
And then last but not least, let's say they weren't able to do that, and they said, you know what, that still hurts, and you're looking at them and you're like, well, they still can't get into a neutral spine. They still have this posterior pelvic tilt, flatten lordosis, bring them down into quad, coming down hands and knees. And what you would do is maybe have them find the lordosis, so maybe dipping down just a little bit into the lower back. And you're just going to do the same thing. You're basically just going to sit back, and my hands on you, and you're sitting back and you're just kind of watching right to where they start to lose their lordosis, and you're going to sit back. You're just going to start to lose it right around there, and then she would come right back up into the neutral spine. And at this point, because they're in the squat position, you tell them to tense up their abdominals and start to get some other muscles going. That's the way I workshop. So if you ever see someone in the clinic and this is they're on in quad, this is because we couldn't get them kneeling or standing. You'll be surprised how people just won't be able to squat. Any thoughts? Does it feel okay to you?
Yeah. Okay.
Little something to do, and come on back up. So that's, you just saw why you would not do this with you quite as yet. Quite as yet. So that's not quite successful. Let's get you off of that. Other progressions that I would do for someone like you are maybe a glute med squat. I'm going to use this one. Push you a little bit. I bring her over to a wall. Oh, because we're going to have her on one leg. You're going to face me. What I'm going to get you to do, inside leg, you're going to just get into a tilt touch stance. Hands out in front of you. So remember when your hip hinges. What I'm going to get you to do is basically a single leg squat, and as you squat, you're just going to kind of pivot through the hips and try to turn into the wall. Coming back up. Knee less forward. Push your hips back a little bit more. Good. I want you to control your knee a little bit because you end up in a little bit of valgus.